Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. Matt Delvecchio, specializing in life transitions, elder care planning, and the senior living industry. Dan, that was David Bowie Changes. You know what? I was supposed to have some AC/DC Thunderstruck. Can you try to find that for us? Because we've got a big AC/DC fan who is skating right now. We're going to get to Steve McNeil in a second. Welcome to our second segment called Helping Mums and Dads. We like to provide guidance and support to the sandwich generation. Interesting and knowledgeable guests covering a vast array of topics that help families cope with the challenges of the aging process. January is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and did you know that today, January 14th, is National Skate Day for Alzheimer's? There's some brave souls from across the country that are skating for a very good cause, and it has really taken off across Canada. And let's bring in the man who is the driving force behind this initiative, Steve McNeil, and we're catching him live from an outdoor skating rink in Kingston, Ontario. Steve, welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
How are you today, brother?
Hey, Steve. Great to have you on the show. We could hear you at the wind. And first of all, we want to hear about where you are. But before that, Steve, can you please tell us about how and when what we're going to call the 1926 skate got started?
2012, I stepped on the ice in my hometown of Toronto, Ontario, at our City Hall's rink, Nathan Phillips Square, at 12 a.m., and I skated for 19 hours and 26 minutes in honor of the year my mother was born in 1926. And at the time, my mother was battling Alzheimer's for the better part of 20 years and was in a nursing home for over 10 years. And she passed the following February 2013, and family and friends convinced me to turn it into a fundraiser. And now, 11 years later, I've been across Canada twice doing this. Today I'm in Kingston, Ontario for National Skate Day for Alzheimer's, as you say, and this is the 35th time I've performed this skate in Canada now in the last 11 years.
Just amazing, Steve. You know, you hear 35th time right across the country, but I just want to repeat to our listeners, he's doing it for 19 hours and 26 minutes. This is the 35th time you're in Kingston now, but you've done this right across the country over the years, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I've even been blessed enough to be in Montreal twice at Parc Maisonneuve. And again, I can't even emphasize how much of a thrill that is for me, being on that natural ice, that mile oval, and turning laps with Gaston Gingras, and having the three Broady brothers from Montreal being the only people ever to complete the 19 hours and 26 minutes with me, and that was 4 years ago. And they're actually on the ice in Montreal today. Parc Maisonneuve, unfortunately, wasn't ice conducive because it's natural ice and the weather conditions we've had. So they had to change venues, but they're still, this is the third year of the bilingual Alzheimer's skate.
Well, you know, Steve, we're going to have some of the Broady brothers on the show just on the second half of this segment here. So we're going to hear from them live as well.
Montreal, you should be proud. Those three brothers are rock stars in the Alzheimer's world.
They absolutely are. You know, we talk about some of the cities. You're in Kingston. What was the coldest city you did one of these skates?
Let's see. I've been in Alberta 4 times, Calgary twice, and Edmonton once. It's never been warmer than minus 40. It was minus 41 in 2019 on Family Day. And that would, on the scale, that was the coldest skate I've ever done. But I don't know. Last year in Bracebridge, I did 8 Ontario cities last year as part of the Ontario Skatation during COVID. And I skated in Bracebridge, and they said it was minus 39, and it was the coldest skate I ever witnessed in Canada.
You're listening to Life Unrehearsed with Matt Delvecchio, and I'm talking with Steve McNeil, raising awareness and funds for Alzheimer's on this National Skate Day for Alzheimer's. Steve is in Kingston on the outdoor rink. All right, I want to hear about today. For our listeners, Steve, I mean, you're skating for 19 hours and 26 minutes in honor of your mom, who was born in 1926. When did you begin your skate today?
Midnight last night, 12 a.m. this morning.
Oh, you're kidding. So here we are. So what, you're 15 and a half. You're down the home stretch now, almost there.
Yeah, I'm here with a couple hundred people from the community right now. This is again, this depicts a Canadian skate for me. And that's why I picked Kingston to be the city to host National Skate Day. Between the mascot for the Kingston Frontenac's coming out today, and I look at, you can go on there's a live webcam that overlooks Springer Market Square in Kingston, and people have been watching me for the last 15 hours or whatever. You can go on there and see how many people are here right now yourself. The Zamboni's on the ice, cleaning the ice. There's a few hundred people here, a lot of kids and their families, and again, they're all signing the hoodies that I wear because that's what National Skate Day is all about. It's all about the awareness and making sure that more and more people know about what's going on.
Just amazing. How are you feeling, by the way? I mean, there's 15 hours. You got another 4 to go. Maybe a little less than 4. How are you feeling?
I'm grooving, brother. I you know, Matt, you've known me a while now, and you've been awesome with the way you get me on the media and stuff, and I truly appreciate it. I'm 61, brother, and I come out here and I get to play AC/DC for 19 hours and 26 minutes as my musical tribute to Malcolm Young and his battle with dementia. And I've done that now for 8 years. So 15 hours deep into cranking the thunder from down under in my Bose headphones. That's as good as it gets in my world. Well,
for our listeners, Steve is a huge AC/DC fan. That's what keeps him motivated. I want to talk about some of how you can do motivate. But this is for you, Steve. Yeah.
There you go.
Keep you going, Steve. You know, besides AC/DC, man, 19 hours, I don't want to minimize this. 19 hours is a long time, 26 months, 61 years old, still going at it. What keeps you going besides AC/DC?
You know what? Every time that I step on the ice and do one of these events, Matt, it's always the same thing for me. I skate on behalf of all the families and the caregivers in Canada that have either battled with this horrible disease or are battling with it now. I mean, everybody knows somebody, and this is one of those diseases that affects so many more people than just the people who get sick. So when I step on the ice, it's truly an honor and a privilege for me to be able to go out and skate for 19 hours and 26 minutes on behalf of all the families and caregivers, because what I say to people is a 19-hour and 26-minute skate is like the day in the life of a caregiver when they're trying to take care of their loved one at home. So I try and bring that awareness level up so that all these communities across Canada, right now, people can go on my website at 1926skate.com, and we have a donate page, and we have links set up there, donation links for almost every Alzheimer society in Canada today. So no matter where you are in Canada, you can go on there, find your donation link, and donate to your local community, and the money stays right there. You know, Steve, music to my ears. Our show is called Life Unrehearsed. You have indeed lived a life unrehearsed, like many, many caregivers that are caring for their loved ones with Alzheimer's. January is Alzheimer's month, and January 14th is National Skate Day for Alzheimer's, and we have Steve McNeil on the line. He is skating for 19 hours and 26 minutes. He's in Kingston, an outdoor rink, in honor of his mom who had Alzheimer's and was born in 1926. You know, you're doing a great cause. Just the momentum you've built over the years. And like I said, this is right across the country, Steve. On the second half after our traffic update, we're going to have the Broady brothers who are doing it right here in Montreal. Just to find out a little bit more about you very quickly, 61 years old, what do you do for a living? I'm a letter carrier for Canada Post in Toronto. I'm a mailman, is what I call myself. Well, you know, if anyone can go on to that website, 1926K, you'll see Steve, and he's built like an ox, and anyone who could skate 19 hours, 26 minutes on a regular basis, you know what? You're in great shape, and you're doing a wonderful thing, Steve. So let's repeat one more time for our listeners. If they want to contribute to the cause, where should they be looking? They can go on my website at 1926skate.com, click onto the donate page, and find your community in Canada. No matter where you live, we've got a link on there that you can donate $19.26 or as much as you want to your community, and it stays in the community you donate it to. So we're rocking Alzheimer's on a national scale. Absolutely. Steve McNeil, thanks for coming on. You're a rock star, brother. You know, it's people like you that have helped bring National Skate Day to what it is. So to you and all your listeners in Montreal and everywhere else, thank you, everybody, and thank you for giving me the honor and the privilege to come out here and do what I do. Steve, you're a man. To all the caregivers, I love y'all. Yeah, it is for them indeed. Steve McNeil, thanks so much. We'll go out with a little thunderstruck for you, brother. And best of luck in the last 4 hours. Coming back after traffic, we're going to continue this feel-good story because it is a skate across Canada. It's being done right here in Montreal. We're going to talk to a couple of the Broady brothers that are actually doing it, and that's going to come up
And welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. Matt Delvecchio here. Play a little Boys of Summer so we could warm it up a little bit for the many brave Canadians across the country skating for a good cause. January is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and January 14th, today, is National Skate Day for Alzheimer's. And we just talked to Steve McNeil. He's the driving force behind this initiative to raise funds and awareness for Alzheimer's. People are skating across the country, including right here in Montreal. So let's bring in Mark Broady, who's on the ice right now, and his brother Scott, who was on the ice, and he joins me in studio. Boys, welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
Hey, Matt, how are you? Great to be here.
Thank you, Matt. Glad to be here.
Well, glad you could both make it in. Mark, we're going to start off with you. We hear the background noise. So first of all, where are you?
Well, I'm down at the Quartier des Spectacles next to Place des Arts. They've got a artificial cooled ice surface here called L'Esplanade Tranquille. And it's absolutely fantastic. It's perfect for what we're doing.
And when did you start your skate today?
As soon as they opened the rink for me at 9 a.m. this morning.
Wow, 9 a.m. So you've been on the ice. I hear it's spectacular. How long do you have to go?
Well, I'm going to go for as long as I can, but I think with the weather the way it is, the temperatures are warm, I'll probably make it to 9.5 hours. So. Oh,
fantastic. Way to go. Keep it up. I know this isn't easy. I want to bring in your brother, Scott, here. He's in studio, so I understand you skated as well, Scott. How was it out there?
Oh, it was beautiful. As Mark said, I mean, the surface is fantastic. And, we can't rely on the natural ice too much anymore. So it's great to have that venue, for sure.
Yeah, you heard Steve before saying you were over at Maisonneuve. I've never been to the Esplanade Tranquille at the Quartier des Spectacles, but you were saying, it's cool. They got the Zambonis and the ice is in great shape.
Absolutely. It's a great spot to come out, family, friends, you don't have to do the 19 hours like Steve does to come out and just be part of it. An hour and 9 minutes and 26 seconds. I mean, we say, that's what Mark was saying. Most of the people out there, you're skating for a couple hours, especially today, not too cold. So it's a great way to get out and get some exercise.
I understand.
Yeah, my wife and my kids were out here joining me earlier. So, yeah, that's exactly what Scott was saying. Just come out and get some fresh air.
Yeah, and Mark and Scott, even Scott, you were saying off air, people were coming up to you, and because you've got these bright yellow hoodies on with the Alzheimer's, and you maybe explain what some of the kids were saying.
Absolutely. We're rocking the yellow hoodies that with the 1926 skate on them, and people are coming up to saying, you know what, I love what you guys are doing. My grandfather passed away from Alzheimer's. My father passed away from Alzheimer's. So we had conversations with quite a few people that were coming up, and I think everybody, as Steve said, everybody knows somebody who's been affected by this. So it just spreads the word, and everybody was saying, where can I donate? Yeah. AlzheimerMontreal.ca, and we're spreading the word.
Love it. Just love it. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. Matt Delvecchio here. I am talking with Mark Broady. He's on the ice, and Scott Broady, his brother, is in studio with me. They're raising awareness and funds for Alzheimer's on this National Skate Day for Alzheimer's. Mark, let's bring you back into this. How did you even get involved with this skate?
Well, we were introduced to Steve McNeil through the Alzheimer's Society in Montreal because we've been working with them for years as our father had been affected by the disease and we lost our dad to Alzheimer's. And they were the ones who pointed this guy out to us and said, hey, have you heard of this guy from Toronto who's skating for 20 hours? And we hadn't. So they were the ones who introduced us. And we were just immediately inspired by what Steve was doing because it was in line with what Scott and I were trying to do, which was to encourage people to go out there and do their own events and their own third-party fundraising and awareness campaigns.
Yeah, really, good on you. And Scott, I mean, you're how many kids? You've got the two of you, and you've got Sean and Catherine,
Sean
right?
And Catherine,
so you have four of you. You guys were all young. You were telling me off air, how many years ago was Dad diagnosed?
Yeah, it was hard to believe. I just realized this morning it's been 24 years since he was first diagnosed. It was 1999 when he was diagnosed. He was 58 years old. So I'm now 50. And so when that sort of hits home, right, where you're thinking, holy smokes. And back then we didn't have, the computer in our pocket. We weren't able to connect people as easily as we can today. So it was those big events that were critical. We started off with the Alzheimer's Walk for Memories. And then, as Mark mentioned, we started the Night to Remember, which was an annual event with our friend David Gold, whose father had passed away. So we started these big events, but then over time realized that it's these small micro events with, micro philanthropists, we call them, where you just have to go out and do something small, and it makes a big, big impact when you get a lot of people across the country. Now, as Steve says, we've got people across the country doing this skate, raising money for their local Alzheimer's Society. Well, that raises a lot more awareness and a lot more funds.
Well, I think that's such a big, important point because, you guys were running this wonderful gala as well. A lot of time and effort, some good money being raised. And I think this was your sort of message that you wanted to get out there. Now, Mark, I think also when you were speaking and doing your speeches, and that's what I love about the Broady brothers. They're out there saying it's not just about the individual and the big glamorous event. It's quite the opposite. And Mark, you were saying, you know what? Everyone can do a little contribution, can't they?
Absolutely. And the other message that we want to get out there is that, let's say 20 some odd years ago when our dad was diagnosed, getting an Alzheimer's diagnosis was almost like getting a death sentence. And I think a lot has changed as far as the research and what we know about the disease, and which Scott can elaborate on, is how much we can do to prevent things like Alzheimer's and cognitive degeneration from taking hold as we're young, in our early years, and not waiting until you're 75 or 80 to all of a sudden feel like you're given a death sentence. So.
Yeah, no, a very, very good point. Listening to Life Unrehearsed here with Matt Delvecchio. And talking, that's Mark Broady. He's on the ice at the Quartier des Spectacles doing this marathon skate. He's going to do a little over 9 hours today. We talked to the man behind the initiative, Steve McNeil, just before traffic. He's doing it for 19 hours and 26 minutes in Kingston, as are many Canadians out there on the ice, and all doing it for a good cause and for Alzheimer's. And just to continue along this, how everyone can make a little difference. Scott, I think you did something with your daughter. What a little
event. Yeah, exactly. My daughter Paulina a few years ago came to me and said, Dad, my friends and I want to do something, and she was a soccer player, and they wanted to put on a clinic for the young kids. And so I said, wow, that's a great idea. So made a few phone calls and sent out a few emails, and lo and behold, she had a clinic set up for, a whole bunch of kids came and paid $20 each as donations. And they raised $1,600 in one day with zero overhead. And that was the light bulb that went off that said, holy smokes, if these kids can do this, well, imagine if that spread and you had hundreds, thousands of kids and adults doing these small little events across the country. It would be such a huge impact. And so that's where the idea came. Let's get that message out and inspire other people to do something small.
Yeah, just, understand that everyone can make a little bit of a difference, and it doesn't have to be grandiose. $1,600, that's amazing, and imagine that multiplied by hundreds and hundreds of people across not just Canada, around the world. All in the spirit of just trying to raise awareness and funds for dementia and Alzheimer's, and hats off to the two of you. I got to give a shout out to your brother Sean. He's usually in this. He can't make it today, but I know he's with you in spirit, and he would normally be here as well. All right, guys, how can people donate to this wonderful cause?
We've got the link set up on the Alzheimer Montreal homepage. So if you just go to alzheimermontreal.ca, no S on Alzheimer's. It's alzheimermontreal.ca. You'll see the link there for the 1926 skate and the National Skate Day. You can make your donation there. $19.26 is a nice symbolic gesture. But if you want to give more, by all means.
Fantastic, Mark. Last word to you.
Well, I just want to say thanks to everyone who has already made a donation. Thanks to you, Matt, for having us on here to help us get these messages out. And for anyone out there who has a family member, a loved one who are dealing with managing and taking care of someone with Alzheimer's or dementia, our message is always, you're not alone. There is hope. There's a lot of things happening now that are a lot of breakthroughs that you can do a lot to sometimes slow the process or even reverse it in some cases. So thank you for helping us get that message out there.
Well said, Mark. Really appreciate, guys. And Scott, thanks for coming into the studio. Mark, hang in there. You got a few more hours left. Hopefully you're not cramping up or anything. And good luck on this as you wind down here.
Thank you, Matt. I'm feeling great. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Matt.
You're most welcome. All right. That's Mark and Scott Broady skating their way for a good cause. And by the way, the boys know a thing or two about real estate as well, or to our listeners. So I want to thank you very much for joining me this week on Life Unrehearsed. Next week, we're going to be talking about preventing slips and falls in the winter. You might think that slips happen a lot outside. In reality, most serious accidents actually happen inside the home. And we're going to have Dr. Jose Moret will be joining us, and we're going to also be bringing up ageism and how we could all play a part in fighting ageism. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Life Unrehearsed. And as a reminder, for all your inquiries or assistance with life transitions, elder care planning, and the senior living industry, it'd be my pleasure to help. You can find out more. Just look me up under Lianas Senior Transition Support. That's Lianas, Lianas, Senior Transition Support. Many thanks to our technical producer, Dan. Great job today. You can listen to Life Unrehearsed here on CJD 800 every Saturday at